Alright fam, well it's time to engage. Mutsa front and center, enter the stage. Mind, body and spirit to try synergy. Ask not like Kennedy, feel the energy. Jump as you live, try to give all positive vibes. Ignite your cognitive senses. The consensus, Mutsa stupendous, tremendous, and kicks like Juventus. Always on point, sharp like a knife, cutting through the bull, tame the strife of life. With no type of hype, don't like take a hike or roll the dice, grab the mic, connect like Skype. No need to save face, it's a safe space conducive to mental fitness, wellness inclusive. Chasing nirvana, elusive. Instead, shed the abusive pattern, real like the rings of Saturn. Full circle, Mutsa is in purple, royalty regal. She's killing you with kindness, it's almost illegal. So my people, life is up and down like a seesaw. Calito, fly away high like an eagle. Watch the leaves grow. Once my flow is flawless, then it's finito.
Welcome, 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 everybody. We are live here on Shifting Your Mindset with Mutsa. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm sending you so much love and light. This is our very first show where we're going visual. I know we usually have the radio shows. I am still broadcasting. So if you're driving and, you're not mobile, please tune in, listen in to the audio. And we can catch up from there. So, right. Thank you so much. So much to everybody that's managed to tune in today via Diplomatic Radio or via the channel. This is Shifting Your Mindset with Mutsa. For those that don't know me visually, this is Mutsa. This is Mutsa right here. How are you all doing? I'm so humbled to be here today. It's been a journey and a half. And finally, I thought, you know what? I'm taking the show to the next level because it is growing. It is growing on a daily basis. So today as well, what's exciting is I have bit of background about the show. The show is basically here to inspire people into positivity. So Shifting Your Mindset is where we bring in real life experiences. We have real life guests that come on the show. They share their life experiences, and from that, they shift us into positivity. So it's nothing but positive vibes, We only deal with positivity, unfiltered conversations. The guests don't know what I'm going to ask them because I like to keep it natural, I like to keep it real, and that's just who I am. So the vision of this channel or the vision of the show is for us to be in a place where we can be more positive. In life, it's so easy for us to remember the bad things or the trauma that happens to us. It's so easy for our minds to remember the bad things that happen to us as opposed to the good things. So shifting your mindset is trying to reset society, trying to reset us so we can be in a position where we think more positively, we inspire one another, be kind to one another, uplift one another, empower one another. I mean, there's enough resources in the world for everybody to be successful. And I've got a beautiful sister of mine who's been on the show, and she's got her own organization as well that's called the Ladder Back Down, where she basically is trying to push that as well, you know, to make sure that other people can be as successful as she has been, and all those things. So it's different people coming in with different life experiences, and we move into the shift. So number one principle about the show, it's negative. Sorry, it's no negative vibes, only positive vibes. You know, it's inspiration, it's empowering. Feel free to pop some questions in the comments. I will try and answer whilst I go, but fundamentally, it's all about the guests on the show. So they've been waiting. They've been waiting. I'm super excited because this is the first time in my life where I've actually had to interview young people. So I also have a passion for young people. And whilst we're shifting about life's experiences, I feel like we also need to inspire the younger generation that's coming behind us, you know, because there's a whole lot of things that are happening on social media, and with the society that we live in, there's a lot of things, you know, a lot of influences going, and there's a lot of perceptions on how young people should be and all of that. And the generations are changing because obviously time is changing. So today I'm launching my first young people show, which will be there every first Saturday of the month. I am going to have two shows this month. I've got another young lady who is like a firecracker. I can't wait to have her on the show. Her name is Raina Kai. She is amazing. I won't say much about her now, but she will be coming on the show. So if you're watching, Ray, shout out to you. She's also a young person, and I feel like she's got quite a lot that she can give as well to the young people. So today I have two lovely ladies that are going to shift us, even adults, you know, they're going to shift our minds as well as the young people as well. So if you have kids, if you have nieces, if you have grandchildren, if you have any under 25s, please urge them to watch the show right now, because it is going down. You know, I am going to be having young people on the show, and it's going to be amazing. So I'm just going to take a quick break, and then after the break I am going to bring them back, and then we start the shift. So welcome everybody. This is Shifting Your Mindset with Mutsa, and I am sending you so much love and light, and thank you so much for tuning into the show.
You already know. What is going on to all of my raindrops? It's your girl Raina Kai, aka and I am here to shift your mindset. If you guys don't already know, there is a big shift that is happening, and that is shifting your mindset with Mutsa. If you haven't already, make sure you guys subscribe to her YouTube channel. Make sure you follow her on Instagram, Shifting Your Mindset, and make sure you guys keep on dripping, because let me tell you guys, we about to drip drop soon on the show. I will be a guest on the show very soon. So let's just keep on dripping and let's shift our mindset, guys, because we are glowing and we are growing and we are moving to bigger and better things. But you guys know we can't move and we can't grow if our mind's not right. So let's get our mind right and let's shift the mindset with Mutsa, guys. Drip drop. You already know.
Okay. How are you, ladies? Beautiful ladies.
Hi.
Amazing.
How are you?
It's good to see you.
It's good to
Good
see.
to see you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. I'm humbled to have. So officially, just off the record, you're like my first young people show, under 25 show. I am super humbled to have you guys here. You know, I feel like I feel ancient. I feel old. I feel old because I have kids that are your age, and you know. So welcome to Shifting Your Mindset with Mutsa. Before we
Thank you
it.
very much.
So I will start with
you.
Brittany, because Brittany, you're the youngest, isn't it? Or is
I am,
Brittany?
yeah.
Well, right.
Yeah.
Please Just yourself, a bit of background of who you are, what you're doing, what's going on, and then we'll move on to Tate after that. Yeah.
Hi everyone. My name is Brittany. I'm 18 and I currently stay in Ireland and I'm in my last year of high school. And I have a channel called Brittany Unplugged where I post weekly videos about different inspirational things and the ways to motivate yourself. And really the goal is to make sure that you leave the video feeling, empowered and believing that you can be the best version of yourselves. And I really do have a passion to inspire people.
Okay. Can you speak up a little bit louder? Because people are saying they can't hear you. So can you speak
okay.
a little bit louder? Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, cool. So
can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yeah.
My name is Brittany. My name is sorry.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. My name is Brittany. I'm 18 years old and I live in Ireland and I'm in my last year of high school and I have a channel and it's called Brittany Unplugged where I post weekly videos about how you can inspire yourself to the best of your ability. And I really do have a passion inspiring other people through the advice I give and just the tips that I give as well, because I really do have the satisfaction of knowing I did help someone at the end of the day. And my goal in life is to event people, not just on a small scale, but on a larger scale as well.
All right then. I know your network is a little bit this is the virtual world, ladies and gentlemen, and I do apologize. I think your network is a bit fuzzy at the moment, but I did pick that up. So you're Brittany. You are amazing. You want to inspire other young people out there. I'll come back to how you want to inspire other young people. This is just like the intro first so that I get to know you guys. And then Tatenda, how are you today?
Hi, hello. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm amazing. It's amazing. It's a blessing to be here. So, who are you?
Well, firstly, thank you for having me. It's such an honor that I get to be one of the first under 25 people on your show. I'm very much looking forward to seeing where this show is going to go, and I know for a fact that it's just going to continue to rise. So my name is Tatenda, but a lot of people call me Tate, Tata, Titi. Basically, any variation of my name, that's probably what people call me. I'm 23. I'm studying international and European law in the Netherlands. I've been here for almost 4 years now, actually, and I really like it. I'm currently learning Dutch. And I've been very much involved in the politics of the university. So I was president of the Nexus Student Association, which is an association for law students who are studying my particular degree program. But I was also on the support list for one of the university councils that were here. I was number 27. And I've also been very much involved in various associations, in various clubs, and I'm very much into creative writing. I'm very much into reading and arts, and very much into anything that's related to music. Like one of my minor hobbies is creating Spotify playlists and also writing short stories. It's something I've been doing since I was a young girl. So I'm very much into creative expression, and I very much enjoy movies and cinema and anything that can send a message and create a message through creativity, basically.
Hold up. How old are you?
I'm 23. 23.
Oh my days. This is already, for me, this is such an inspiration, because if I am to reflect back to the 23-year-old Mutsa, where was I? Oh my. Let's for another day, but already this makes me so proud, because this is
thank you.
This is what we're looking for. Hold that thought. I'm going to come back to you, because Brittany, you didn't tell us your hobbies. You didn't tell us. You went into a little bit of who you are, the basics of I want to know your hobbies, what you love, like how Tatenda has explained it to me. What do you love? What do you enjoy doing? I think Brittany's frozen.
I'm really into writing. Like I've always had a passion. Sorry.
No, it's fine. We had lost you, but it's fine.
I'm really into writing. I've always had.
Oh,
Okay. Do you have me now?
Well, a little bit. I think maybe turn your video off at the moment. It might help. Because I think your bandwidth is a little bit like because it's raining and the weather. So try turn off your video. It might help. Yeah, we'll show your face again, so don't worry. Yeah. Okay.
Sure, let me see if I can fix it.
Don't worry, we're here. Take your time. Yeah. Whilst Brittany is sorting that out. So Tatenda, I'll come back to Brittany once you sort it. So you have spoken about so many things that you're involved in, and I think for me, again, if I'm to write a letter to the younger me, one of those people that I am still one of those people that I can wear so many hats. Like I can be different dimensions and fit in and run with it. How do you manage balance? Is it because, okay, the first question I guess is, do you know what you want to be after
I have an idea. And just to take into consideration the other comments that you made about, having so many hats and managing it, I think I might incorporate my answer into this one as well. I do have an idea of where I want to go. I definitely want to go down the corporate route of law, specifically tackling issues like anti-money laundering and KYC, know your customer. I did a 10-month internship in Luxembourg where I was working for the compliance department of a private equity firm. And I really, really like it, because I know a lot of young people these days, especially who are involved in law, are very much interested in human rights and criminal law, and that's fantastic, and it's very, very noble. But for me, I very much like dealing with I don't really want to deal with people as much as I want to deal with businesses and companies and numbers and entities, things that I guess are at the multiple disposal of human beings. So I very much want to go down the corporate and business route. So afterwards, I might explore a master's in commercial law. But I'm also open to other things as well. I'm not like I don't believe that I don't believe you should limit your options. You should have an idea of where you want to go, but you shouldn't actually limit yourself to that one thing because maybe something else can come along. So I'm also open to other fields. But then in terms of how I juggle everything, well, since COVID started, of course, things have been a lot less because, you can't have a lot of social contact and there's not a lot of events that happen. So prior to COVID, I was very much involved in my association. I was very much involved with a lot of different clubs. And, as I said before, I was the president of one of the associations. And it's a bit like I juggle it all, I guess, because my brain is a little bit like a bit like a Google Chrome thing. So I have so many tabs that are open. And I have so many interests and I have so many ideas for different things, like to the point where sometimes I can come up with an idea and then I don't really do it because it's just an idea that came to my head and then I speak it. But then, yeah, I like to dip my hands in a lot of things as much as I can. It's just right now it's a bit more tricky due to COVID. But for example, if I'm interested in music at that time, that'll be my hyperfixation. If I'm interested in writing, like lately, whenever I have some free time, I write some stories because that's where my creative energy is being channeled. So I sort of I don't really think about it. I just do, basically.
No, that is amazing because I feel like sometimes I don't know if this resonates to you because I remember when I was 23, I had no clue because I went from wanting to be a pastor. I went to study theology and then I went into fashion and then I did so many things and then I rap as well. So that's my artistic side and I also write now. And I guess, so when society looked at me at that point, they were like, she's just so confused. She doesn't have a direction. She doesn't know where she's going in her life. And then now that I'm a bit older and you are obviously younger than me, do you feel like that's the case? So you're young, you guys are under 25. Do
Hmm.
you feel like you should be conformed to being limited to say, actually, you need to know what you want and you need to stick by it. You need to know that you're going to be a doctor and you need to stick to that. You need to know that you're going to be a lawyer.
Mm,
Or is it okay? You know,
um, I think it's okay to know what you want, because
For me,
I was watching Beyonce's documentary a few days ago, and she was talking about how from the age of 5 years old she knew that being a performer was all that she wanted. So obviously, if you know what you want early on, that's even better for you, because then you can start quickly. But it being an obligation, I don't think so. I don't think that you have to know what you want to do. Like, for example, Vera Wang, who's the designer of the world's most beautiful wedding dresses, she designed her first dress at the age of 40. So, and J.K. Rowling only wrote Harry Potter when she was in her 30s. And so I don't conform to the idea of you having to know what you want to do right now. So many, ask my family, at 16 I wanted to be a doctor, so you don't have to know what you want to do, like, right away. I wonder what Brittany thinks about
yeah,
it.
yeah. Hey, Brittany, it's good to see you back. Good to see you back, beautiful. Sir, what are your thoughts on
hi.
that?
Can you? I hope you can hear me now. Can you? Is it clear?
Brilliant. Yes, you
Yes.
are. You are live. You're good. Everything.
My thoughts in general. My my is
Oh,
perfect. So I feel like there's a difference between desiring something and really and having like a burning feeling about something. So I feel like from a young age, I always knew that, I always wanted to be in front of a camera. I knew that I liked singing, I liked writing, I liked things, but I knew that there's a part of me that is going to be in front of the camera, but I didn't necessarily know what it was. But then I feel like a lot of the times what we want to be, like for example, when Tatenda wanted to be a doctor, it's because her mindset and her opinion was shaped to be in such a way where it would permit her to be a doctor. So I think it really depends on your circumstance. It depends on your environment.
Mm,
So if your environment is permitting you
exactly.
to be something, then automatically you will
Hmm.
then think that you can be that thing. I think your environment
Exactly.
plays a huge role in terms of what you can be. So that's why I think it's really a bonus when, like, you have supportive parents, when your parents support you in everything that you do, when your parents say, let's say you
Hmm.
want to be a YouTuber, for example, and your parents support you and they kind of aid an environment where you can be that thing, then it kind of
Hmm.
it allows that as well. So I feel like we're all born with an instinct, but then it's shaped over time depending on the circumstances that we're in as well. That's my take on it.
amazing.
And
Because,
this
like
is
you said,
why I'm
Shannon,
proud of
absolutely.
her.
Yeah, I know. I'm proud of her too. Makes like I'm super proud of her because
Thank
just
you.
for people that missed the first part of the show, how old are you, Brittany? How old are you? For people that missed
I'm
the first part,
18.
there you go. This is an 18-year-old that's got
I'm
so much
18.
amazing. And this
Yeah.
and is exactly what we're talking, this is exactly what the
So
shift is all
much.
about. You're 18 years old and you've got so much wisdom, because I feel like looking back as well, if I am to write a letter to the younger me as well, it's kind of like I feel I wasted so much time in trying to be what society thought I should be. Does that make sense? And that confused
Hmm.
me. That confused me because I
Yeah.
at one point, remember when I was in my 20s, mid 20s, I was thinking, listen, you need to be married, you need to have kids, you need to have that degree, you need to
Yeah.
be on that paper, right? And I felt so
Hmm.
much pressure. There's a lot of lessons
Yeah.
I've learned in my past, and you as young people coming back now and saying, look, it's okay. And this is part of the shift, because I want young people to understand that life is a process of growth. You start from being a baby, then you crawl, then you walk, then you talk, then you do all. You never stop
Hmm.
growing. This
Yeah.
is why a year
Exactly.
add another year onto your years.
Yeah.
So life is about growth. And when
Hmm.
you're in your 20s, teens, you are
Yeah.
everywhere. You know what I mean? You're everywhere, and some things resonate,
Hmm.
some things don't. But there's something that you said which is powerful for me, is the fact that you've mentioned that when you were younger, when you were like 8, you always Tatenda, or was it Brittany? You said you always knew you wanted to be on the camera type of thing.
Brittany.
Brittany, you,
Yeah.
that's another important aspect that we miss. You know, when we talk about our satori, when we talk about our calling, if you look back in your childhood, the where you always end up in life, you know, things that fulfill you in life are the things that resonated with you when you were actually young. But obviously your conscience didn't trigger or didn't know what to do with it. So for example, myself, I've always felt like, you know, like I've always been this type of person. You know, when I look back now, I've always been the type of person that likes to help people, that likes to be in the spotlight, you know, like I've always been like a little socialite type of thing, you know what I mean? And looking back now and retracing my steps of where I was, because I remember when I was like in year 8 or something, I once wrote a whole book with this other girl that I used to go to high school with, called Rumbizai. We wrote a whole book of lyrics of songs. So then now, when the artistic side, or you know, the talking side resonates with me. Oh yeah, my BFF is actually watching. Shout out Chase wife. Shout out Pauline. She's watching, and she says she's a witness to this. Who I am now. Yeah. I have a witness today. This is the beauty about being live. I mean, who I am now has always been who I was in the past. But because I was on that journey, like what you're saying is growing. Right. Now, next question for me is, because I think this is crucial. And I think the young adult, the adults need to hear this as well. Have you ever been supported by your parents to be exactly what you want to be, or have your parents ever influenced you to be something else?
No. By influence, do you mean like they actively
Say,
worked against, like actively working against your desires, or?
No, not work against. They have your best interests, and they tell you, for example, oh, you know, Tatenda, be a doctor because it pays well, the job's there. You know, if you do this, you do that.
I see.
Yeah. Not because
Yes.
malicious, but because I have an 18-year-old, and I always try and tell him, you know what I mean? So I'll have that conversation with you guys, the impact it has, you know, because I always tell him that no, you can't play for Manchester United. You need to play for this team. You know what I mean? Because he wants to be a footballer. Or I'll be like, oh, you're saying you want to be a businessman. What are you going to get?
Yeah.
I always, not because I want to downplay what he does, but because I feel it's subconsciously, it's just like, I feel like I'm doing the best for him. Do you know what I mean? So
I'm curious to see what Brittany thinks about that, actually.
Yeah.
For me, I've always been someone who I've always been unapologetically myself. So who I am is who my parents see. So it's kind of like when I reach a decision about something, about what I want to be, I will kind of tell them that, look, this is how it is. And I think that is one thing that, for example, I admire about my mom. She's very much assertive. So I feel like yes, they have supported us in terms of like our direction. For example, I've always, if you ask Tatenda, I've always been going on and on about how I want to be a billionaire because I don't see why I should settle for less. So it's always been something that I've been vocal about. I always feel like when I've come up with a decision, or when I say I want to be something, I'm already going to be very much vocal about it, so that if they say something otherwise, then I'm not going to settle for less, because I have it set in stone that this is exactly what I want to do. And I feel like it's also a lot of the times, if you want to get support from your parents, I know there are a lot of people who maybe fail to receive that support from their parents because maybe it's a career that's not permitting them to, like, you know, that may not permit them to go very, very far. But I feel like you always need to have a plan. If you go to your parents with a plan, that's one thing that I admire about our parents. Our parents always say, you need to plan, you need to plan, you need to plan. So I feel like it's always, I've always like kind of like come up with a plan and kind of been very vocal about it. So for example, when I say, oh, I'm going to be a billionaire, yes, I may joke around about it and I may laugh, but I honestly feel like if you know that you don't deserve less, then you need to make sure that you have a plan to get there. So before, it's almost like if you're going to make a statement that you're going to be something, you need to have a plan to know how you're going to get there. You can't just say, for example, oh, I want to have a company like Bill Gates, but then you're not actually working towards doing that, because if that's where the lack of support comes in. Whereas if they see that somehow you are working towards that, even if they don't believe that, then it should kind of leave them thinking that no matter what I say, my child is going to go for it, and eventually they'll kind of believe in you. So I'd say growing up, our parents have supported like our decision and stuff like that. And even when I started my YouTube channel, my parents were very supportive. My mom was very supportive and said, okay, how are we going to get you there? What are we going to do? And stuff like that. So I feel like once you go to them and say, this is what I want to do, this is exactly how I'm going to do it, then I think it's the most important thing. It's always, I think part of your dreams must scare you. That's one thing that I believe. And it's something that I've always heard. I feel like I have always had dreams that have scared me. So I feel like that's how I know I'm dreaming big, because the thought of me even reaching there should be like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get there type of thing. So I feel like if you, when you come up with a dream for yourself, it's because you realize that you don't deserve less. So I think it's a matter of just knowing what you deserve and knowing your worth. If you want to be a billionaire, then you need to know that, okay, what are the things I'm good at? What are my strengths? How am I going to get there in order for you to actually reach that point? So I am very happy that my parents are very supportive, because it just gives me, it just gives me the ambition. I think I'm already ambitious enough, but then the fact that my parents are supporting me in what I'm doing, it's giving me even more ambition to get to my goal.
That's amazing. And that's a powerful statement, because again, to talk about the shift, you know, if it wasn't for me, if it wasn't for my mom and my grandmom, right, I'd probably be still in limbo. So my mom, I think maybe should be somewhere in there watching as well. My mom has always, no matter what I do, right, even if it's the most craziest thing, she'll be like, but you know what, Mutsa, you could have done better. Do you know what I mean? But it's okay if that's what you want. That's my mom, right? And I feel like to be where I am right now, for me to get my epiphany, for me to get my satori, you know, like my mom for me is like my best friend, which is like an advantage for me. You know what I mean? It's like an advantage for me, because I think now, and even growing up, because there's another question that I'm going to ask you. Even now that I'm more mature, now that I understand my value, now that I understand my mom's value, you know, I feel like I'm achieving a lot more now with my mother's back. You know what I mean? With my mother's support, with my mother's insight. So we need that. And I think this is something for us as parents as well. We need to take on board that our children need that motivation. They need that inspiration. They need that from us, right? But obviously, we are different people. Tatenda, have you ever had conflicts when you have decided to be something and your parents think that's not going to be a good fit for you?
Yeah, I did. It was actually, it's kind of like, the one thing I'll preface it by saying that there is no one on this earth that knows you more than the person that carried you in their womb or the person that raised you. And obviously, I'm not trying to exclude those that were adopted or those that are, you know, with foster moms, but in general, the mother knows the child more than anybody else. And so I remember when I was talking about being a doctor, despite the fact that I didn't even have like the mathematics, biology, or chemistry grades to even make it, I was just talking about this idea of being a doctor. My mom, we were in the car and she just, you know, said to me, "Are you sure you want to do medicine? Aren't you like more of an artsy kind of person?" And I thought about it and I was like, yeah, but I think medicine would be really nice. I think it would suit me. And she goes, yeah, but like you're very much into literature and history and religious studies, and you talk and you're good at English. Why don't you consider that? Because that's where I see your skills. And it clicked immediately. I was like, actually, she's right. Actually, what am I doing? I don't even like chemistry. Like, you know, and you need chemistry to be a doctor. So every time my mom has always come to me with the contrary opinion, it's always been simply from her knowing me. I've been very fortunate that it's never, there's a lot of parents who, want to live through their children. And in one way, it's understandable, if you, let's say, grew up lacking something, or if you never got a chance to achieve something, and so you have your child, and your child is a bit like a blank, canvas, and you want to paint your colors on the child. I do understand where that comes from, but I've been very fortunate that my mom is not the kind of mother who, tries to vicariously live through her children. She just knows her children. And so she will give her opinion based on what she knows about her children and the understanding that she has of our characters. And she's completely correct. I barely tolerated mathematics. I was only good at biology because I was good at memorizing stuff. I was terrible with chemistry, and I had no business, going into medicine. I mean, it's a wonderful field, but it's just not for me. And it took my mom just simply saying, but these are your skills. These are the skills that I can see. So why aren't you going in that direction instead? Maybe you could be a lawyer, or maybe you could, go down the route of, international relations. And I mean, the only thing that I would say, and that's more about myself than it is about my mom, I wish I would have gone back and explored psychology, because I've only recently discovered the field of psychology, and
Right.
I love it. And I know that if I had studied, let's say, psychology, I would have been, I mean, I think it would have been for me. But I can always explore that in the future. All I know is that, it took my mom pointing out my strengths to me for me to see them, and for me to realize that, oh, actually, I think this is more for me. And yeah, so yeah, I think my mom has, of course, come to me with something that was different from what I wanted. But yeah, it's always come from the perspective of, a mother's love and a mother's intuition. And it's never felt like it was my dreams were being impeded against or anything like that. It actually was more like an awakening or an enlightenment. So in that case, I've been very lucky that my mother's influence has always been from a very benevolent perspective, as opposed to, an enmeshing of a, controlling mother or anything like that. I've been very lucky in that sense.
Wow, amazing. Brittany, what are your thoughts on that? Because I know you do quite a lot of talks about, I've seen you talk about toxic parents and all of that stuff, and you didn't, I watched your videos, by the way. I watched them and I love them. And you spoke about toxic parents
Oh, thank you.
and all these things. And what are your thoughts on that? That the roles that as parents, the roles that we play, how we perceive things, and how sometimes you might perceive as toxic, but it's because we just want the best for you sometimes. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think, first of all, parents, like anybody else, they don't have wings, they're human. So I think that's the first thing that we need to establish there. I think I think your parent plays the most important role in your life, because what you see at home is like the basis of how you deal with your relationships later on in life. So what you
Amen.
see at home
Amen.
is the only thing that you will know. And when you go out, for example, when you go to university, when you go to work, when you go to school and stuff like that, the way you behave, those are the principles that you have accumulated from home. So I feel like it's one of two things. If you're in a situation where you feel like your parent is toxic, they're not supporting your dreams, or if they are supporting your dreams, there's two ways. In both ways, you can still come out successful. I think it was last week, there was a very famous actress, Cicely Tyson, that died. And actually, when she started acting in the 1940s, I think, her mom was very unsupportive. Her mom actually wanted to kick her out of the house, but then she still broke artistic barriers, and she was like one of the most well-known actresses, one of the most well-known Black actresses as well. And she did super, super well. And that's from having an unsupportive parent. But then whereas if you have a supportive parent, it also helps you to achieve your goals as well. So I feel like your parent can play a role for the negative and for the good as well. But then at the end of the day, you are going to it's your choice it's your choice in terms of how you deal with it. It's either you will sit around and mope and say, I can't do this anymore, I can't do this, oh, my parent is this, my parent is that, and stuff like that. Or you can kind of pick yourself back up and say, you know what, I am not what my parents are, and stuff like that. And I think a lot of the times, if you are in a toxic household, you may feel like you are a product of your parents. Like, you may end up feeling like you're not a separate person because your parent isn't permitting you to feel that way in the first place. So I think parents do play a particular role in terms of how you grow up and how you see things, because the values that they instill within you are the values that you will then carry on, whether it's with your friendships, your relationships, and your family as well. So I think when it comes to molding your personality, when it comes to molding your character, your parents play a very, very important role.
Wow.
Yeah, no, 110%. I fully agree. I actually think that your parents and your, your home environment, but specifically your parents and the relationship that you have, the individual relationships that you have with your mother and your father, or let's say, for example, you're growing up just a single mother or a single father, or you're growing up with like two fathers or two mothers, the relationships that you have are the blueprint for how you see intimacy, how you see love, for your choices. I know, for example, a lot of my interests are very much similar to my mom's interests, not even because she like threw them on me, but because just from watching, I ended up gaining her interest as well. It's kind of like if you look at the Bush family, you have George Bush, and then you have the senior, the junior, and then the brother Jeb also wanted to be president as well. You have in the United States, there's a former NFL player. I think his name is Peyton Manning. His father, himself, and his brothers, they were all in the NFL. So I really think that the family plays, in what my mom always says, a critical role. The family plays a critical role in in creating the blueprint that you have for your expectations, for your career goals. Even if you are the black sheep of your family and you go into a completely different field, how you operate in that field, your work ethic, your, how you deal with conflict, how you deal with people. If you go into, other aspects of life, for example, your romantic relationships, your attachment style is 110% determined by your parents. For example, people that are a bit more anxious in their attachment style, a lot of the times it's because they had parents that were in and out of their lives, or parents that were emotionally available at one point and emotionally unavailable. And so there's a lot of anxiety attached to love. Or people that come from a more secure, attachment style are those that grew up with an abundance of love, but also an abundance of independence. And so that perfect balance has given them a secure, aspect. And then there's people that are a bit more avoidant when it comes to love. And that's because they were probably taught from a very young age, whether it was consciously or subconsciously, that, love and, emotions are a scary thing, and they're things to be afraid of. And, they attach a lot of fear to those kind of things. And so I really do think that the most important relationship that you can form, obviously, if you're born, you didn't control that. So the relationship that you have with your caregivers is the number one most important relationship in the formative years, because that sets out the mood board for the rest of your life. And if you're unfortunate enough to have, the caregivers that didn't give you what you needed, whether it was by choice or not, there's a lot of unlearning and healing that then has to be done. And then obviously you then end up, that can create its own problems in the future. But I am a firm believer in what Brittany is saying, that your home environment, where you grew up, where you were groomed, where you were raised, those principles that you accumulated, they are, fundamental in terms of the kind of person that you're going to be. If you see someone acting crazy on the street, the first thing people say is, oh, I wonder who the parents are, because there's that deeper understanding that the people that brought you into this world are the ones that are going to educate you in how you should navigate this world. And so I really, really believe in the importance of the caregiver, the role of the caregiver. And there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that role as well. So I think I fully agree with Brittany's point. It's very important.
Wow. So there's a task for us as parents, and it's never easy, as a parent itself. The thing is, sometimes, it's never easy to navigate that, be in a position where you feel like, you're making the right decision, because ultimately, I always think that everybody has their own calling. Everybody has their own story. And sometimes, and now again, trying to bridge the gap between the generations, because obviously, as young people these days, things are completely different to how we were raised, and our parents' things were different. Grandparents' things were always different, you know what I mean? So I feel like there is a challenge to both of us here in terms of shifting and us moving into positivity. I've just seen my mom. She's there. Hey, mom, how are you? I've just seen a comment from my mom. Hey, Tafara. Hey, Glennie. Hey, everybody. You know, sending you so much love and light. So I always feel like because it took me a while to understand growing up, you know, as a 23-year-old or as an 18-year-old. I was in a position, despite the fact that I had everything, you know what I mean? I had all the moral support. I had my family. I had quite a good upbringing, you know, if I'm to be really honest, but I was such a rebel in the sense that I always thought that, you know, what does my mom know about my life? Do you know what I mean? Even till I have kids, I can tell you this for sure. When my mom says something to me, she'll be like, I know you. Mutsa. I know you. Or, you know, she'll call me randomly and I'll be going through a whole lot of stuff. Even though I'll be talking to her every day, she'll be like, what's going on? And I'll be like, what do you mean? You know what I mean? I'll be like, what do you mean? She'll be like, you're my daughter, you know. I know something's wrong. But it took me years to get to that place in life to understand. So I think for me, this is where some of the shift is, that we need to understand as young people growing up. Sometimes you need to understand that, you know, your parents mean well. You know, there are toxic parents, you know, there are parents sometimes that, you know, just don't resonate because of how they want you to leave their dreams. However, I mean, Brittany, he's got a whole podcast, you know, on how you understand what type of parent you have. Now, for the good parents, because we only focus on positivity here, and you know, and if you want extra support, if you're having issues with parents or whatever, feel free to message me. You know, Brittany has done a whole lot of stuff around, you know, the type of parents we have, and you know, something really worth listening to. I remember when I was young, no matter what my mom said to me, I'll be like, I want to go up the opposite. Do you know what I mean? I'll be like, and if on my reflection now, had I had listened to my mom back then, I would have probably been in a better position. But at the same time, well, now being a parent, I've got also other things that I reflect on myself. You know, now that you're saying all these things, there are things where I think sometimes, you know, when my son says, oh, mom, I really don't want to do that, and I'll be like, well, you're doing it because I say so, you know, and because I'm the mother, he'll be like, but why do I have to do that? Why do I have to take a photo with you? I'll be like, because I'm your mom. You know what I mean? And on as well, there's another thing as parents that we need to be really, really mindful. And I think when our kids are growing up, we need to be in a position where we understand the type of young adults we are raising. We need to have time. We need to communicate. We need to get to know, and we don't miss the opportunity because now for you, you're 10 steps ahead because your mom was able to identify to say, hang on a minute, you want to be a doctor. That's not you. Do you know what I mean? And that saved you a whole lot of time. But it's the thing, the onus is also on us as parents that we need to get that engagement going. I need to get to know my kids just like they need to get to know me so that I can be in a position to help you, support you, because we are human beings. And unless we spend time with the young ones, unless we spend time with our children, I know the cultural dynamics sometimes of how people grew up. I know people that have told me that my dad never hugged me when I was growing up. No people that have told me that. And they will say it's not because my dad didn't love me, but it's just because
he just wasn't like that.
Or because the culture
wasn't like that,
wouldn't, you know what I mean? And this is, we are living in a different dimension, and I think this is where the shift is coming in for me, where I am urging parents, you know, these are young voices who you can hear the wisdom, you can hear how intellectual they are, you can hear how much they're focused, how much they're out there, how much they go getters, because they are the next generation. However, the pillar of who they are today is because of their parents. and which means parents, we have an impact. We have a duty of care right here. We have a duty we have to take on as parents, as well as the children. We are not mind readers, and generations are different. Do you know what I mean? The things that
No, that's true.
Yeah. So sometimes I can be so adamant to say no, you can't be a lawyer in aviation, because when I grew up there was an aviation law, so I don't know much about it. Do you know what I mean? So I think we need to bridge that gap where we build those conversations, and I want to see more young people like you stir up this kind of vision. You know, I want, because you are an exemplar that we have a rich generation behind us. We've done something right. Like, you guys are the role models of showing us that we've done something right for ourselves. You know what I mean? And we're not saying you're perfect, but at least you have that focus that it is possible for things to be focused. Now, there are now people, there are young children who are not as privileged as you guys, who maybe orphans, who have been adopted, who
100%.
left on their own, who are lonely. You know what I mean? And
100%.
do you know what I'm saying? It's just like yesterday when I was having a conversation with you guys, and then the young lady and male who you heard me when I was on the phone, who I spoke to, and they're so young. And the guy was telling me that his mom died of a drug overdose, etc. What kind of message can we give? What kind of support can we put out there for people that are in that situation, that are not as privileged as you, that don't have a good relationship with their parents like you guys do? Because it's not always the case. It's not always the case that people will have that, you know, will have that stepping stone. What message can we give to people, the young people out there that feel like they can't talk to their parents, that don't have any parents, that are lost in limbo? What is your advice? What do we do to support? How do we shift these guys?
I think obviously it's a very difficult question to answer, because I don't believe that there's one right answer, that there's one way to do it. And I'm also very well aware that I am very much sitting on a position of privilege, because, you know, not a lot of, there are some students who are not able to, there are some people my age who didn't have access to the same opportunities, that didn't, you know, that weren't fortunate enough to grow up with the parents and the mother that I had. And obviously you know, it's difficult for me to speak on on people that are in those specific circumstances, because I want to refrain from sounding out of touch. But if there's one thing that I've learned, is that regardless of the circumstances that you grew up in, whether you grew up in a very privileged circumstance, whether you grew up in a very underprivileged circumstance, the one thing that I've learned is that wherever you go, there you are. And that is a very scary thought, but that is also a very, in my opinion, a very redeeming thought, because it means that if there is one thing on this earth that you have control over, it is you and your choices. Obviously, there's external factors that come into play, like your socioeconomic background, your religious background, the wealth of your family or lack thereof. Obviously, there's other external factors that contribute to the choices that you make, and I'm not going to dismiss those. But in general, you are the one that is ultimately in charge of the choices that you make, of the steps that you take. You are your own autonomous system, as you are. You know, and to the best of your ability, you should ask yourself, okay, how much is this going to serve me and my purpose and my life? You know, to what extent are these choices that I'm making? To what extent is, you know, the life that I'm living, the part of the life that I have control? Obviously, if you're 17 and you're living in an abusive home, there's not a lot of control in that aspect. But the parts of your life, the parts of yourself that you can control. I'm very much, I know that, you know, if you grow up African, grow up Christian, you're told that all the control is in God and stuff like that, and that does make a lot of sense. But I do believe, I am very much a believer in in autonomy. You know, your autonomy as a human being, and I'm very much a believer in the power of self-control. You know, control isn't necessarily a bad thing. I know you hear the word and people think they have a lot of negative connotations to it. But I am very much a believer in being in charge of yourself as much as possible. And so if you are growing up in a situation where you don't have, supportive parents, let's say you're my age and, you went down a lifestyle or a path that your parents didn't support. I think in that, like, let's say there's someone who's a similar position to me, also in university, also pursuing law, but then they don't have very supportive parents. I would remind them that regardless of whether their parents are there or not, they are the ones that have to look themselves in the mirror every day and deal with their choices. They are the ones that have to deal with themselves. Because if, let's say, they chose to go down the path that their parents chose, if their parents suddenly died, they're left on this path that they didn't choose, all because they were trying to impress their parents or they were trying to live up to the expectations of their parents. But it's a bit like, let's say, if someone wants you to date a certain person or live in a certain place, and you do it because you want to follow their advice, you're the one that has to go to sleep by yourself every night and say, this is the life that I've chosen. So to the best of your ability, as far as you can, in your circumstances, of course, you are 100% in charge of your life. You are an autonomous being. Even if other people want to interfere with that autonomy, you have to, I mean, obviously I'm not encouraging anyone to get themselves involved in situations that are dangerous, but I think sometimes it's necessary to fight back where it's possible. I think sometimes it's necessary to say, like, I have a friend of mine who when I was living in Dublin, we went to the same school, and she recently started a new job in a different part of Ireland, and her family were completely against it. They were like, no, you have to stay home, you must stay with us, you're still our child, despite the fact that she's 23 years old. And they were very much adamant on keeping her in the home. And she comes from a relatively strict Muslim family, and she was like, no, I found a job, this is the job that I want, I know it's 2 hours away from home, but this is the path that I must take. And she fought for herself. It was very awkward, it was it was not an easy thing, but in that moment, she had to make a decision. Do I stay home at 23 years old, or do I finally go out and create my own life? And eventually her parents just had no choice but to accept it. So I do think that where it's necessary, where it's possible, sometimes fighting back is okay. Sometimes getting into that argument with your parent is okay. Sometimes not talking to them for a month is also okay. I think it's good to have a good relationship. It's good to be, to have good rapport with people, but sometimes conflict and tension is very necessary,
Right.
in order for the greater good. So sometimes it is okay to be like, okay, you know what, mom, if you don't like it, fine, let's not talk until you accept it. Sometimes it is okay to do that, I think.
I know. I can resonate with that. Thank you so much for that input, Tatenda, because ultimately I always say that you're the master of your own fate. And this is what I say, as parents, we're also human beings. Ultimately, the onus yourself to take control of your life and live the life that you want, because you only get one shot in life. You only have that one opportunity to take in life. So,
very much so.
Yeah. And so you are, I always like to say you're the master of your own fate, because that's how it is. But Brittany, what are your thoughts? Because you're quiet there, because I know Tatenda was talking, and something popped up in my mind when you say what you say, but I'm not going to dwell on it right now. I'll focus on Brittany. What's your opinion?
Like what Tatenda said, I agree with everything she was saying, in the sense that sometimes in order to step out of your comfort zone, you are going to have to swallow like, it's a hard pill to swallow. There's a lot of hard pills that you are going to swallow when you are trying to achieve your best. Like, it's not going to be a straight route and stuff like that. You will not go anywhere by dwelling outside of the norm. You're not going to go anywhere by just staying in your comfort zone, because at the end of the day, if you are trying to dare to be different, if you're staying in a corner where you refuse to come out of, and you're staying in a box that you refuse to open when there's like a seal that's open already for you to come out, then you're not going to go anywhere. I feel like, yes, a lot of the times we want to please our parents, we want to do the best, and we want to make sure that they are happy with everything that we're doing and stuff like that. And sometimes, yes, it is okay to want to please them. It is 100% okay to want to please them. But at the end of the day, if you continue living life through other people, if you continue living life for other people, you will never reach your fullest potential, because you're always going to seek validation from them, saying, should I do this, should I not do this? Life will pass you by, and you're going to realize 60 years down the line that you wasted your entire life trying to please parents that wanted something different for you, and that you wanted something else. So you need to make sure that you don't end up seeking validation from them, and you make sure that you don't find yourself in a position where you constantly need to ask them, should I do this, should I live my life this way? Because at the end of the day, it is your life. You don't let your lifestyle choose you, but you get to choose your lifestyle at the end of the day. So if you want something, and you know in your heart that you can easily achieve it, but it's other people's opinions that are trying to stop you. It's what he thinks, what she thinks, what are they going to think, what are they going to say about me, and stuff like that. The moment you keep asking what if, when we ask what if, we haven't yet asked the question yet. So you spend so much of your time asking what if without actually going to get your dream, without actually going to get what's yours. So instead of focusing on what other people around you may think, really take time to figure out, okay, what do I want for myself? And just know that if you want to be successful, you are going to face hardships along the way. Maybe there are going to be people that don't agree with you. There's going to be people that won't support you in anything that you do. And it's really hard when people around you don't support you, but that is a hard pill that you have to swallow. And you need to know that if you want something, you need to be vigorous about what you want. You need to be vigorous about your dream. If you know you want to have a multi-million-dollar company, maybe that does makeup, for example, but people aren't supporting you, that's their opinions. Let them worry about their opinions of you. But then if you know that you can achieve it, if you have a burning desire to be successful in business, we talk about the characteristics of an entrepreneur, and one of them is need for achievement. And the actual definition of it is they have a burning desire to be successful, and they're driven and they're ambitious. So if you want to achieve something, you need to make sure that you are 100% vigorous about it. And it's hard if your parents are toxic. It's hard if they don't, really accept what you're doing. But then the only way to deal with it is if you are hard on yourself and realize, okay, my parents aren't supporting me right now, and maybe my friends aren't supporting me right now, but then this is something that I want, and I'm going to go after it. I'm going to go get it because this is what I need. So I think the key is to make sure that you don't find yourself seeking validation. A lot of the times, it's people who have toxic parents always want to seek validation. But one thing we fail to understand is that that validation will not be earned, because you will never please them. That's one thing. So if you have a toxic parent, you are never going to please them. If you always want to be the best, one thing, okay, once you do something that they want you to do, right, there's something else that they're going to want you to do, and it's going to keep piling on like that. So don't find yourself in a situation where you always feel the need to always just, yes, exactly. And you don't always have to please them, because you need to remember that they are never going to be pleased, because as long as you are not them, as long as you don't replicate them, then you're not going to please them. So you just need to understand that on the journey of success, you are going to have to swallow hard pills, and you just need to come to terms with that. You can't be too soft on yourself. You can't be like, I'm going through this and stuff. And yes, you need to allow yourself to feel whatever you need to feel, which is 100% necessary. But you also need to know that along the way, there's going to be hard pills you have to swallow, but it's up to you in terms of how you deal with it.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Is it okay if I address a comment that I saw? Because I think it was a very interesting perspective.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so The Chase's Life said that I think parents are allowed to be part of your decision making and choosing your career. They have lived through a lot and they learned, and we can learn from them. I 110% agree. I think, parents, it's good to refer to them. It is good to defer to them for pieces of advice, and it's good to take their advice into consideration, because obviously they've been there first. But I think it's just more in the context of when you know exactly what it is that you want to do, and you have a plan and you know it's going to work, but you're dealing with an unsupportive household. I think in cases like that, it's okay to then not fully dismiss, but it's okay to kind of put your parents' word on the side if it means fulfilling a greater purpose. Obviously, that's not to say that you don't take their advice at all. And if they are generally very supportive, but they do have a contrasting opinion, of course, it is good to consider why they're telling you that, because if they're generally very supportive people and they don't support one thing, it means that 9 times out of 10 they're probably not supporting it for a genuine reason. And in that sense, you then have to sort of listen to their side and then filter what works and what doesn't. I think at the end of the day, what matters is how you filter something, because you have to remember the pieces of advice that anybody gives you is based on their insecurities, their experience, their standards, their beliefs, their principles. So even if it makes sense, sometimes it could make sense for them. It's a bit like, if you have that one friend who is just not successful in relationships at all, or is a very toxic partner, that's obviously the last person that you'd want to go to for relationship advice if you know that they treat their partners, terribly. That you don't want to then say, oh, how can I fix my relationship? Because all they do is ruin their relationships. So I think it's at the end of the day, regardless of whether your parents are supportive or not, regardless of whether they're smart or not, take everything through a filter. And, because you know yourself. And even if they raised you, you still are your own individual. So look at everything through. My mom always tells me, filter. Take what works for you. Take what is wise. Take what will apply best to your life, and let go of those that do not add any extra value. So I think it is important to take the advice of anyone who's been somewhere before you have, but then it's also then important not to do so at the expense of your, intended purpose, basically. But that was a very good contribution from Chase's.
That's my best friend. That's my best friend. That's it. I can witness to be who I am. So that was my best friend. But shout out to you guys. Can you believe I have under 25s in the house? I don't need to talk today because they have all the wisdom. and to me, that is shifting your mindset with Mutsa, because I think we are in a situation where we always think, oh, the young people, these young people of today, what do they know? But you guys are actually an exemplar that we have quite a lot of wisdom, and we need to touch base with our young people. We need to collaborate. We need to take a collaborative approach with our young people in order to restore society. You know what I mean? I've got a burning question that I want to ask you, but I think I need you all to take a break because you've been talking. So I'll just have a quick break, everybody, and then we'll come back because this is so inspirational. I am learning so much. I am learning so much from under 25s. They're like, my daughter is right here, and there's so much wisdom. And that is shifting your mindset with Mutsa, because we get wisdom. We have a lot. We're surrounded by so much wisdom. We're surrounded by so much light. We just need to tap into it. We need to move into an era where we touch base with positivity. And this is what we're doing. And this is what this show is all about. So I'm so humbled. I'm learning so much. Thank you. Already I'm halfway through my shift, but I think you need a drink of water. So I will just take a quick break, and then we'll come back. And I have a burning question I want to ask, and I think it's going to stir up a whole lot of things because it's been trending. But I want to hear your thoughts about it. I know these are the discussions, so you don't know what it is. So embrace yourself. Embrace yourself. So stay tuned, everybody. Shout out to everybody that's on the show. This is our first visual. We are on our channel. Shifting Your Mindset with Mutsa is now live right here. We are here whilst we're also broadcasting. So whichever is convenient for you, tap into it, subscribe to the channel. I'll let Britney and Tatenda give us their details, whilst we're going to the end, because they have so much you can learn from them. This is not even a third of what they have to offer. So, stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back after the break.
They don't wanna know. They don't wanna know. They don't wanna know. They don't wanna know how I feel inside. 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 Turn up the lights. Come and see the brightness of my darkness. Turn up the light. Come and see the brightness of my darkness. In my weakness, I found my strength. I found my strength in my weakness. I found my strength. I found my strength.
36 years fighting this life. God give me strength just to see 5. Dancing in the rain, praying in the pain. Still Sweating in vain just to be shine. Plotting on the dots just to be fine. Pulling on a smile just to be right. Walking in a mile, floating on a pile. Busting in the fire just to be high.
They don't wanna know. They don't wanna know. They don't wanna know. They don't wanna know how I feel inside. 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 Turn up the lights. Come and see the brightness of my darkness. Turn up the light. Come and see the brightness of my darkness. In my weakness, I found my strength. I found my strength in my weakness. I found my strength. I found my strength.
Think when I see them out of the corner of me eye. Pray them and pray and I hope for me die. Oh Father, you me have to ask you why. Why them kill get a youth when them a try? I never see when they're dirty, but them see when you're clean. Why they made it so bad mind? Why they made it so mean? Tell it to me now, follow back on no man. From me a youth, me not take program. Sing me own a song, make me own slogan. El gringo, them boy, they not know man. I never see when they're dirty, but them see when you're clean. Why they made it so bad mind? Why they made it so mean?
They don't wanna know. They don't wanna know. They don't wanna know. They don't wanna know how I feel inside. 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 Turn up the lights. Come and see the brightness of my darkness. Turn up the light. Come and see the brightness of my darkness. In my weakness, I found my strength. I found my strength in my weakness. I found my strength. I found my strength. I'm not tryna confess. I'm not tryna confess. I'm not tryna confess. I don't wanna stress. I don't wanna stress. I don't wanna stress. Feel it flowing. I feel it flowing. I feel it flowing. My river keep me going. My river keep me going. My river keep me going. I don't wanna know. 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 I don't wanna know.
We're back. We're still here on Shifting Your Mindset with Mutsa. I have these two lovely young women, Britney and Tatenda, who are just sharing, giving us wisdom on life. Like, I feel so inspired. I feel so motivated, and it's like refreshing to see the younger generation coming here to give us some wisdom and sharing some stuff with us. So what I was going to ask now, is a bit like I wanted to find out, because obviously life has changed. Like I was saying, our generations are different, and there all these challenges happening out there in the world. You know what I mean? Or there's the latest one is it's called what, the silhouette challenge. Do you
The silhouette challenge.
yeah.
Silhouette challenge.
Yeah, you know that challenge,
I
right?
haven't heard of it. I feel I haven't heard of it.
So we'll
Man.
tap into Brittany because she knows what time it is with that one. So basically, what this challenge is like music in the background, and then things switch up, and some women are coming out naked and all this whatnot. But then it's a challenge, and this is some of the shifting I want to do, because I have quite a lot of young women sometimes that I speak to, and they say, oh, all I want to do is, buy loads of bags and shoes and whatever, and each to their own, you know what I mean? But there is something there for me that, we need to be able to address the elephant in the room, to understand that some of these things are vanity, and they fade,
Mhm.
I always say that, whenever people say to me, or compliment me, I always refer back to say, my brains are my biggest asset, because I feel like with the brains. However, at the same time, I always feel like society judges us a lot, especially the young people, knowing that your generation is different. We put a lot of pressure, and we judge each other a lot, to the point where we feel, we come out, and we're too hard on ourselves. You know what I mean? We're too hard on ourselves, in the sense that we criticize ourselves a lot. And there's been quite a lot of these challenges that have been happening around the young people, some which I enjoy, like the basset challenge. I enjoy that one because I like to dance.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And so I can resonate
yeah,
to the you know what I mean? And then we take it to the extreme as well, because especially as young black women. So I'm not segregating, but the reality of things is, as young
yeah.
black women,
We have a unique position.
we have a unique position where sometimes we're deemed as, especially when you're growing up, this is for the young women that are growing up, we are put in positions where we often see angry black women, angry young black
Mm-hmm.
women, or black
Mm-hmm.
women will run on each challenge that has got anything shaking their booty. Black women will be there, and they'll be trending because they have it, so they'll flaunt it, right? Perceived in a very, very wrong way, because I'm an artist. Part of my story, part of my calling is I perform, I dance, I sing, right? And obviously the generation that you guys are on, obviously it's a game changer. It's different. You guys are advanced. You guys have all these different things. How should we balance it? How should we balance it in order for us to be in a position where we don't miss what's important, where we don't criticize um, each other, at the same time, as well as maintain that balance, that we're not just deemed as, do anything about shaking your body and you see a young black woman.
Yeah,
I'm saying,
yeah. No,
putting on
I very much.
move from
This is actually something that has been on my mind for a couple of years, actually. And I think I'll make a reference to something that happened over Christmas. I think Brittany will remember it. Remember how I was telling you that I'm not a fan of a lot of the, not everyone, but for a specific type of, black movie that they try to put out in Hollywood. And not because I don't support black creators, but because I'm very protective of the image of black people, specifically the image of black women, and how we are portrayed and how we portray ourselves. And it's something that's been on my mind for a long time, because I see so many of us who, firstly, racism is not okay, nor are these stereotypes that people use against us or okay. But I see so many of us that have potential to be so classy and so put together, basically reinforcing the negative stereotypes about us, who sort of use it and capitalize it. And a lot of black men entertainers do this. They put on wigs and bonnets, and they really capitalize off of the stereotypical black girl. And they very much look at they create caricatures of all of the negative stereotypes that are put out into the media against us, and they capitalize on it and they benefit from it. And you see a lot of, if you go on certain aspects of like black Twitter and black Instagram, you see a lot of black women as well who participate in the demise of the image of the black woman. Like, I don't know if you know Tory Lanez, the artist. He was in a Clubhouse chat a few days ago, and a black man challenged him and said, "Why did you shoot Megan Thee Stallion?" And black women came to his defense, right? And seeing things like that, and then hearing about the silhouette challenge and things like that, it really does break my heart, because I think while I am a believer in free speech and freedom of expression, I do think that there is a responsibility that comes with it. And if you are aware of your unique position, you shouldn't use it to limit yourself, but you should use it to draw insight as to how the way you act might actually impact how people treat you. And not because it's like justifiable if people use certain things against you, but whether we like it or not, human beings keep subconscious and subconscious tabs on what they see and how they see you behave. And so, personally for me, I'm very much in favor of, traditional femininity. And I don't mean it from the patriarchal perspective of like, oh, the woman who stays inside and does nothing but cook all day. I'm not talking about that, but I am very much a believer in maintaining ladylike manners, dressing in a very feminine and classy way, using makeup not to make you look like a clown, but using makeup to enhance your features. Like, for instance, I really like the shape of my lips, hence the reason why I always wear red lipstick. And I really like my complexion, hence why I wear things like this that kind of bring out, I'm so for women, specifically black women, using their sexuality, using their makeup, using their fashion and their platforms to enhance the good things about them. Obviously, that's not to say that it's suddenly an excuse or it makes all of racism or stereotypes okay, because just because you see someone disrespecting themselves doesn't mean that you have leeway to suddenly disrespect them as well. But I really think that if you're operating in this world as a black woman, of course, trust me, it's scary. I live in a predominantly white country, in a predominantly white neighborhood and white city. I know how daunting it can be, but I use my blackness. I use it to my advantage. I use all of the, the black girl magic and the melanin power, and I use it in a way that it works to my advantage. I don't limit myself. I don't worry about whatever stereotype someone might have of me, because I go out into the world putting my best foot forward as possible, and it works to my advantage, And so I very much I am like, I don't want to sound like a prude or anything, because if you know me very well, you will know I am very much in favor of women getting in touch with their inner sexuality, women getting in touch with their inner sensuality, and I do think that, presenting yourself in a classy and feminine way is a way, it can actually make you look very sexy. I mean, if you look at the difference between Kim Kardashian and Monica Bellucci, right? Those are two very similar looking women, both, tanned women, long brown hair, similar features. But yet Monica Bellucci is easily 10 times sexier than Kim Kardashian, despite the fact that Monica Bellucci is not a very sexual person. I mean, of course, she has like dressed up in sexy outfits, but she's not a sex symbol in the way that Kim Kardashian is. Yeah. But yet, if you were to ask the average man who they would say is sexier, they will say Monica Bellucci, because there's a certain sexiness that comes from mystique. There's a certain sexiness that comes from, femininity, that comes from, wearing clothes that suit your body, wearing makeup that enhances your features and doesn't hide your features. There's a certain, sexiness is all about mystery. It's not without a reason that we always fall for the guy that doesn't give too much of himself, because we're like, wait a minute, there's more. There should be more. I need, that kind of thing. And so, exactly. And so, I say this not to criticize. Sorry?
Don't tell them the hints and tips, girl. That's another show
True.
for women.
That's true. That is very true. But and you know, I'm really not saying this to judge the people that participate in this challenge. Freedom of expression, free internet, do what you want. But I say it more because I really am very protective of the image of Black women. I have so much faith in our ability as a collective,
Wow.
regardless of whatever challenges that we may face. And so when I then hear about challenges like this, and when I then see, you know, the way our own men portray us, and you know how I see us being portrayed in the media, it really breaks my heart. And how I then see us, you know, reinforce those stereotypes, that also breaks my heart as well. And so, oh
100%.
sorry, I muted myself. I am someone who is very much protective of, you know, Black women and our image, and I think we should really focus on enhancing our strengths as opposed to covering them up with performative acts. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm. And unfortunately as well, you know, this is for the young people, you know, the things that you see on social media. Like, I mean, I have a documentary that I'm releasing at some point, maybe end of February. It's done. It's there already, and it's called All That Glitters Is Not Gold. And I basically give you an insight of my real life and this image you see. And I feel like sometimes this image you see gives you a certain perception, or gives you, traps you, or gives you some sort of
Mm,
influence to think, oh, she got it all, so I've got to look like this. But it's not like that. You know, there's so many
mm,
battles behind me being here today. There was a lot of hurdles, you know, that I needed to jump. I'm a
mm,
voice. So some of these things you see trending right now, and this is where I want us to move into the shift, where we need to
mm,
really work, and we really need to tap into our mindset to understand, you know, like I'm an artist, and I perform, you know,
mm,
and I sing. I love to do that. And when I do it genuinely, to be honest, for me, it's something that even from as a young little girl, I used to be known for dancing. And my mom is here.
mm,
If mommy, if you're watching, you better put in a comment to support this, because I'm telling the truth. I remember when I was such a little girl that I used to be known for dancing till the morning. You know what I mean? And my grandma also used to teach me how to dance. You know what I mean? The cultural way, because she's from Mozambique and Mama Lawi and all of that. So I've been dancing for time, right? So dancing is there. However, there
mm,
are certain things now where it's taken to another level. And some of these challenges for me, I feel like if you look at them, it's almost, if you do the matrix, if you do the baseline, you will see some of these challenges that are a bit like, you know, and it's no disrespect to anybody. Some of these challenges, I think they're a trap to try and, you know, put us in a predicament where us as
100%.
because Black people, we are powerful. Black women, and it's not about racism. We're naturally, by default, we are powerful. And some of these
Yeah.
things we're put in a position because we're powerful. We're not afraid to take the challenge if it comes out. And that's how I see it. I see it when Black
Mm,
women jump into this, they're like trying to show, hey, I'm brave enough to do this. Do you know what I mean? I'm brave enough to take this on. And then as well, you have, and then there's that imbalance as well, where you will see Beyonce, you know, looking, wearing the most skimpiest things as a performer, and everybody's like, she was looking dope. But if I'm to do the
mm,
same thing, it's like, no can do. That's unacceptable. So
mm.
how do we get that balance then? How do we get that balance? Because we want, go on, Brittany. Brittany, you were about to say
In
something.
relation to, um, yeah, in relation to, for example, the silhouette challenge, I think whatever you do, there's going to be a reaction, right?
Mm,
So if you go and do something that is out of the norm, you must not be surprised if you get a reaction that is out of the norm as well. So I feel
Right.
like,
mm,
yes, I'm for this whole, you know, loving your body, loving yourself, and respecting the fact that your body is a temple, right? I do strongly believe that your body is a temple. So if you, in relation to this silhouette challenge and, you know, also creating that balance as well, if you're going to go on your social media, a platform where everybody has freedom of speech, where everyone has a right to their own opinion, and people were to label you as a sex symbol, they were to label you as a sex object, you must not be surprised if they were to label you. Maybe in your head, you're like, yes, I'm loving my body. This is me embracing who I am. But other people may not perceive it that way. I think in order to create that balance, you need to know that whatever you do, there's going to be a reaction. But the way that you respond to that reaction, that is entirely up to you. How people respond to you is something that you're not in control of as well. I think also tapping into the side of the classy side of yourself, into the side, oh, how can I wear this without revealing too much and stuff like that, kind of what Tatenda was talking about in terms of mystery and stuff like that. I think also remembering that whatever you do, how you perceive yourself, if someone has never met you, right? Let's say you apply for a job and you leave your silhouette challenge on the internet, for example, and let's say they do background research and they come across your silhouette challenge and they've never actually met you, right? They may automatically think that you are trashy, that you're cheap and stuff like that, but maybe you are a very intellectual person, but you thought you were having a bit of fun. I think the key in all of this and all of the balance is that people there's a level of entitlement that people need to stop feeding. Like people, if someone posts the silhouette challenge and then people say, oh no, you're a hoe and things like that, people are saying that because society has perceived it in such a way where if you were to go and, you know, exploit yourself like that, that is how you are going to be viewed. So I think the first step is to make sure that the self-entitlement stops when you really need to take a step back to think, okay, if I was to see someone else doing this, then I would probably think the same. But because it's you think that you should be doing that type of thing. So I think first it's dealing with the issue of self-entitlement and seeing, okay, are my feelings justified? Or if the roles were reversed, would I also be thinking the same? The second thing is understanding that there's a level of self-respect that you are supposed to have, you know, for your body. Of course, everyone has body parts. Everyone has bare skin, right? But then you just need to understand that when you do perceive yourself in a way that is out of society's norm, people are going to have something to say about it. So controlling your reactions, dealing with self-entitlement, and making sure that you present yourself in a way where people will respect you and people will feel empowered by you, rather than having their opinions of you be devalued because you decided to exploit yourself. So just know that whatever you do, there is always going to be some form of reaction. So I think when the silhouette challenge came out, I personally I was like, you know what, people can do what they want to do, but then they must not be surprised by the response from it, because, you know, if you are going to exploit yourself in that way, people are going to react. Because also in relation to sexual things, people have relationships and stuff like that, people have, you know, some kind of uproar reaction, and it's kind of like a bigger reaction compared to other issues. But when it comes to matters of sexuality and the way you like cleavage and things like that, people will always react to that because that is what stimulates people as well. So just kind of knowing that you need to also respect yourself is something as well that can help with the balance.
Right. And then just thinking of that though, we like I've said, I'm an artist, and obviously as an artist sometimes you have to be creative outside the norm. And I know Ray Nakai as well listening, and she's an upcoming artist who is popping right now. She's popping, like you know, she's going to be on the Young People show soon, and she's very creative, you know what I mean? Like all I see in her is creativity. However, because she's an artist and she's expressing herself in a creativity way, nothing more, nothing. Like if you speak to her, she's starting her law degree. I'm not going to say much because she's coming on the show, so she'll probably go into details about who she is. Very, very intellectual. But if you go to her Instagram, then where she is, you will see her creativity. And sometimes her creativity is outside the norm. But as a person, who she is as a person is completely the opposite to the artistic side. As young people, there is seeking attention, you know, and then there is that like the artistic side, like I'm trying to express right now. How if you're an artist and you are being creative, you are looking like drunken love video like Beyonce, should you still be mindful of what society says to you?
Oh, actually, okay. So I have a
I
few
think in
levels
terms
to
of
this
being
answer, right?
mindful.
So there's firstly, there's what you said about how, I think your artistic side is a part of who you are.
Right.
I very much believe that
Yeah.
we as human beings, we are multidimensional beings, and
Yeah.
we're just like a skeleton, we're just like a body. We're all interconnected parts that serve an entire purpose. So just like a human body that serves the purpose of us being able to function in the world, with legs and arms and eyes and a tongue and a mouth and, things like that. I
Yeah.
do think the creative side is a part of yourself. So I think when you do express the creative side, regardless of how people respond to it, they are responding to an authentic part of you. So it is actually part of who she is, but it's just that one particular dimension that she's chosen to broadcast. And in terms of being mindful, I think it's always good to be mindful about how you conduct yourself, but then, as someone who, for example, really likes to write and who likes to write stories, I sometimes end up writing certain stories, creating certain characters that are completely outside of how most people would know me, or that are a little bit more, should I say, not safe for work, or, things like that. And in that sense, I don't think you should be limited. I
Yeah.
do think that on the one hand, it's good to be mindful, but then on the other hand, don't spend so much time thinking about how the world will receive it that you end up failing to reach your full artistic
Yeah.
potential. Because
Yeah.
even if you
Yeah.
are Kate Middleton or Meghan Markle, two very beautiful women, very well put together, have their own, accolades outside of the royal family, you could be them and people will still have a bad reaction to you.
100.
So mindfulness should
Yeah.
not then be at the expense of your potential. So, like I said before, I do think it is important to take into consideration your position on this earth, and you should be, crafty enough to make decisions based on what your outcome. So, if you know that you want to appeal to a certain group of people, you obviously have to adjust to, you have to adjust your art to that market. So, obviously, mindfulness is important for overall success. But
100.
if you are generally a very modest, put together person, but then your creative side is actually quite sexual and very much into human anatomy, and you've drawn a perfect body of a naked woman, don't then not put that out there because you want people to think you're clean, because ultimately it's still a part of you, right? And I would rather people have a negative response to an authentic part of myself than people have a positive response to whatever image I've, put together just for the purpose of just for the purpose of um, you know just for the purpose of looking good to them. So mindfulness, I think I should have said this
Yeah.
before, has to be authentic.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So if
100.
you are someone who's a naturally sexual person, kind of
Mhm.
like Grace Jones or Naomi Campbell,
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
women are exuding sexual appeal. You don't look at Naomi Campbell and think, oh, she's not sexy. Even if you're not attracted to her, you agree that she's a sexy woman, right?
Yeah.
And but they still also look very good, and you still also take their art very seriously. Grace Jones is very well respected. She went to a party with French politicians completely naked, wearing only bones around her neck, and she still is a well respected person. So that mindfulness has to be authentic, right? So for me, because I'm a more, I guess, traditional dresser and I'm very a bit more modest in my style, that's what's authentic to me. So
Yeah.
if I were then to wear, expose a lot of cleavage, that would not be authentic because firstly, that's just not me. But there are other people who are so, it's kind of like Rihanna. Someone
Yeah.
said Rihanna can wear anything and look fantastic
Yeah.
because for her, she has the personality where she can dress up modestly with her Saudi Arabian billionaire boyfriend, but then be on stage and shake her butt and people still love her. So if you're going to be mindful, it has to be authentic because the last thing you want to do is to sacrifice who you are and to sacrifice your potential for the
Yeah.
sake of appealing to other people. So
Thank
mindfulness has to be authentic.
Yeah.
100. Absolutely
I
agree.
agree.
You nailed
Mhm.
it. Absolutely
And
agree. Like, just being who you are, being true to yourself, standing true to the cause,
yeah.
walking with
Mhm.
who you are. That's ultimately life. That's you being alive. That's your imprint. That's how we will know you were here if you're being genuine. Just running
Exactly.
with mob psychology or dogma, or saying because everybody else is on it, I'm gonna go on it, or because I want to prove I can do it. It has to be something on you. Hi, lawyer Chihuahua, how are you? My mom just confirmed that that's true indeed. You've been dancing from a tender age, so that's how it is, and that just has never left me. So like, because sometimes, because I still dance till now, and people be like, where did that come from? Because they don't know, but because it's something coming from a mindful place. It's something that's been in me. It's something that makes sense to me. It's something that comes natural to me. I do it. And that's how, and that came with growth to the understanding. I used to be at a point where, I would do things that when I was at a very young age, where I would do things because I wanted attention. And then with growth, I was like, but why I'm missing myself. I'm missing a big part of myself. And then I had to find myself, and I went on that journey, and I found myself, which some people will still look at it and think, hang on a minute, how can she be a lawyer and then she dances like this? Because they don't understand coming from a mindful place, because that's who I am.
And
so that makes sense.
Like,
Go on,
Britt. And I was also thinking that, like, a lot of the times we can find our artistic outlets, like when we find who we really are through our artistic outlets. So for me, I've been singing since, I don't know, when was it, 2007, I think, around there. I've been singing for a very long time. So when I started, so I noticed that compared to how I actually am, and when I sing, I'm a completely different person, because music is my artistic outlet. When I started my YouTube channel, when I knew, like I said, I always wanted to be in front of the camera, but then I actually didn't know that I could be in front of the camera and speak to the camera. But it actually took me doing it to realize that I actually am a completely different person when I speak to the camera. Like, I am 100% authentic and I'm myself, but then there's a level of confidence that I have when I speak in front of the camera, because it's like, maybe it's because I know what I'll be talking about and stuff like that, but I'm not too sure what it is. But then I think when we find our artistic outlets as well, we end up discovering parts of ourselves that we never knew existed. And I think that's the beauty of it all. And of course, people will always have opinions about what you have to do. But then, I mean, I don't know where the world would be if, like, our opinions, the opinions of us, the opinions of that other people had of us would be. I don't know where we would be if those opinions are the things that probably drove us and stuff like that. So I feel like your artistic, it doesn't matter how eccentric your artistic outlet is, someone is always going to have something to say about your outlet at the end of the day. And like what Tatenda was saying, you could be Meghan Markle, you could be, someone will still always have something to say. There are just those people that really just oppose everything. But then it's okay to be aware of how society may want you to be. But then even if you step out of the norm, yes, make yourself aware of what's going on around you. But don't let that be the thing that stops you from, being where you can be. Because I feel like the more we discover parts about ourselves, we become very much self-assured. Like for me, the more I began to discover myself more, like when I started YouTube, it made me discover a lot of things about myself that I never knew I had. Because I think around 13 or 14 years old, I was really not confident. I was very tall and I was very shy because I thought, okay, maybe I'm just too tall and stuff like that. I had so many insecurities. I was not happy with myself at all because I felt like, no, everyone is enjoying like their shorter height, and I'm like a head taller than everyone. I felt completely out of the norm. But then it takes discovering parts of yourself that you never knew that you had in order for you to be self-assured, because that discovering part of your artistic self, that's you discovering yourself a lot more. That's you being your authentic self. So when you are your authentic self, then you become very much more confident, and you become just so happy with who you are. So I think whatever artistic outlet you have, if you end up discovering yourself for the better, if you unlock a passion that you have, if you unlock something that you never knew that you had that could really better who you are and get to where you want to be, then I honestly think that it's hard, but people's opinions must not dictate how you move in the future. And I think that's something you may have to learn the hard way, because you then eventually realize that people's opinions are just their words. That's all they have. That's all the power that they have. They're just words. They're just what they think, and that is something that you're not in control of. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Brilliant, amazing. We are now like coming to the end of the shift. I'm so glad that you guys will be coming once a month, because we've got so much to talk about. Again, I'm going to be picking the latest things that are happening on the young people scene, because young people, you have so much ahead of you. There's so much in the world there, like for you to be free and explore. And you should just be yourself and be allowed to express yourself in any way that you can. Just to round off the show, right, I want you to leave a key message that you would want to tell the young people out there. What would you want to tell the young people out there? A key message you want to share today, that biggest shift, like you're part of the Shift family now. Welcome to the Shift family.
Thank you.
Shift you want to give the young people, even us as parents as well? What is that key message, Tate?
I would say that I think it's something that I've been doing recently for myself, especially in the last couple of weeks. I think you need to, it's something that my mom has always been teaching me, but sometimes it takes a little while for, messages to stick in. And sometimes you have to go through certain things to kind of understand why certain messages are important. But it's very much developing a relationship with yourself and developing a relationship with your body. But, well, in fact, I won't even say developing, but I will say discovering your relationship with yourself. Why you do the things that you do, why you make the choices that you make, why you tolerate or accept certain behaviors from people. Really digging deep and looking at your triggers and examining your triggers and saying, okay, why is this particular thing upsetting me? Where is it coming from? What part of me, what part of my inner child is hurt because of what has happened? Or this thing that makes me happy, why does it make me happy? And that's not to say that that's not to encourage anyone to be cynical or anything, but it's just more to discover the why of why you like something. It's like your favorite TV show. How many people have actually sat down and really thought, okay, why do I like this TV show so much? Or your favorite, it could be a friendship or a relationship, and you're sort of looking at yourself and you're saying, okay, why am I tolerating this? Or even if you're not tolerating anything, it's like, okay, so what is it that I'm getting out of this? And, what is the payoff? And, what is it making me feel? Or if you're in a moment of high stress, or if you find yourself being offended by something, you have to ask yourself, okay, but why is it that I'm offended by this? What part of me is it triggering that's, bringing about this feeling? Is it valid? Is it not valid? Firstly, your feelings are always valid, no matter how weird, outrageous. If they are in your gut, they are valid. People don't have to agree with them, but your feelings are valid. And so, why am I feeling like this? Kind of getting to the why about yourself. And that's something that I've really, it's something my mom has always taught me, but it's something that's only really like properly kicked in the last maybe 2-3 weeks, where, it's a bit like, it's Jennifer Aniston said it in her interview with Oprah in 2006 or something. And she was talking about how, when everything happened with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, so many friends sent her like self-help books and they gave her all this advice. And she, it was just all this advice that she was taking in. And it just kicked in one day when she was, hanging out with a friend of hers, and things in life just started to make sense. And so for me, it's just been like that, where advice that I've always been hearing from my mom has just kind of started to make sense. I think, it's probably due to the quarantine when you're always inside the house. And so you kind of are forced to be with yourself all the time. So I think getting to the why of who you are and why you do the things you do, asking yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I like this? I think that's a very good first step in terms of how you're going to deal with yourself, and then eventually how you're going to deal with people.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much. Yeah. Brittany, what do you want to say to the young people? Or
I think I always say this to my friends, and I say it as a joke, but I genuinely mean it. When I say, I would say you have to choose life. in life there's many options, right? You may choose violence, you may choose to hate, you may choose to do a bunch of things that may cause negativity, but you literally just need to choose life. For example, in school, right? If you have multiple tests coming up, but you know your brain can't handle it, choose life and sleep. Choose yourself. Choose self love. Love yourself. And I also think that with choosing life, you're also choosing, you are in control of everything. You are in control of the amount of access people have to you. If you have a friendship circle around you that's not either supporting you, or it's just toxic, or the energy is very negative, you are in control of the access that they have to you. You need to protect your peace, because with protecting your peace, discovering yourself is one of the things that I really do like to talk about a lot, because I mean, I went through like a number of things in order to actually discover myself. Because I think maybe when I was 12, 13, 14, around there, I never, even though I was young, there was a point where I was like, I am never going to be happy with myself. I'm never going to be so satisfied with myself. But then when you really do become satisfied with who you are, you end up, you consider yourself to be the greatest, because you put yourself on a pedestal, on a high pedestal, a pedestal you should be on. And I think I talked about this in one of my previous videos, how it's been normalized to self-deprecate, to say, oh, I'm ugly, or oh, I'm lazy, I'm never gonna, stuff like that. But then those words have so much power. You are in control of literally everything that happens. If you want to go on a vacation to the Bahamas, instead of saying, oh, I'm never gonna get there, literally just be like, yeah, I am gonna get there. And you should just proclaim good things in your life as well. And choosing life means that you should set a lifestyle for yourself that you know will make you love yourself to the fullest, that will make you so happy with who you are, because you don't want to die with regrets. You don't want to die saying, why didn't I just do this, why didn't I do that? Because you only live this life once. So you should just always make sure that you need to choose life, and you need to choose the energy that you surround yourself by, and make sure that you surround yourself with energy that is going to better you, and energy that you know is going to help you in the long run. And make sure that you don't settle, don't just tolerate, really just make sure that you are surrounded in love and happiness and just pure light, and make sure that you always work your best to get the lifestyle that you know you deserve.
Amazing. You've summed everything up. I'm not even going to add anymore. All I'm saying is I'm so blessed to have you guys as part of the Shift family, because I've been shifted. I personally have officially been shifted, because sometimes, you know, it's so hard as an adult to get to take in advice from somebody that's younger than you, because again, society has labeled it that we are always meant to know everything. But no, life is about learning, and this is part of the shift where you understand that your energy sources come from different places, your intellectual, so inspiration, you know, comes from different ways and forms. It could be a stranger, somebody you've never met in your life. You meet them that day and you see them, and that's it. It could be a bird in a tree. That's just ultimately it, and then the choice lies with yourself. So I have been shifted today. I've gained so much wisdom. You know what I mean? Like, I was excited about, and I'm so glad that this is my first visual show, having you guys on here, because you're such an inspiration. And knowing the fact that you guys are under 25s and you have all this wisdom, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. I'm personally, on behalf of your parents, me as a parent, I'm super proud of you. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Super
Thank
proud.
you.
You know, you will go places. Remember to give me a shout out, though. Wherever you go.
Well, 100%. We will give you a shout out. Don't worry.
Definitely.
Which I will use against you. So everything that you say will be held against you in the court of law. So, you know.
I would know.
Yes. So I've hardcore evidence that you were here. You were here today, and you've left a mark, an imprint. You've left us so much wisdom, you know, in everything that you've said. I cannot add anything more, because I'll be doing it no justice to it, you know. It's amazing. I feel so I'm lost for words, you know. I'm lost for words, because typically, you know, what you're saying is what I will be saying, but you spoke before me, and you're under 25. So young people out there, parents, please let your kids watch this video, you know, let your kids understand there is more to life. And if you know, I always say peer-to-peer talk always helps to influence, you know. There's something called the influence model, which is often used trying to drive change in people. When you're trying to implement a new process, there's something called the influence model. And it often, some of the things that work as part of that model is the fact that you guys have that peer-to-peer. You know, you are talking as young people with other young people and adults, including myself. You know, I'm super proud. It's been amazing having you on Shifting Your Mindset with Mutsa. I look forward to having you again in March. But this time, we now know you guys will be going straight into the latest trend, the latest topic. Will be hitting it. And I'll be like, right, young people, what do you have to say for yourselves? You need to answer to the call. So it's been amazing. Thank you so much for
Thank you
coming
for
on the
having
show.
us.
It's no problem. I'll catch up with you guys
Thank
after
you
the
so
show.
much
I'll
for this.
stay with people just to say goodbye and thank you. So I'll catch up with you after the show. But it's been amazing. Thank you.
So much.
Sending you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Thank you. Bye.
We are here and we've been shifted by phenomenal young women. And this is what this show is all about. I am here to inspire people to be able to move us into an era where it's more positivity. I mean, the world is dark right now, and I always say it, you know, we have COVID, we have all sorts of things happening. It's time we change, you know, it's time we reset these things, because we know we've had these pandemics over the years. They've been there in history, you know what I mean? If you read your history, you'll see these things. But then the onus is on us as well to take responsibility and be totally accountable and say, you know what, I want to be part of that change. You know, I want to start shifting my mindset. It's time we start tapping more into positivity as opposed to, you know, dwelling into negativity, you know, bringing each other down. It's all love and light, you know, love and light. Light will always drive out darkness. Light will always drive out darkness, regardless of where you are in life, you know. It's been amazing. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. This has been my first visual Shifting Your Mindset show. Thank you to everybody that's been on the journey. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in. You know, shout out to my uncle who did my intro track. You know, I've got a personal track. Like there's been a whole team behind all of this. You know, shout out to my mom, as you can see her comment. My mom is amazing. You know what I mean? Over the years, I've learned to value. Shout out to my grandmom as well, you know, who's my wisdom. Shout out to my BFF. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to G, you know, shout out to everybody. Shout out to everybody that's behind this. Most importantly, shout out to Kush. You know, you made it happen. We're here today. He's part of the Shifting Your Mindset team. He's in the background, you know, making everything happen. But he's one of the most amazing people that I met on my journey. And it's been amazing. I'm really humbled. You know, everybody that's bringing it together. Shout out Lee. You know, it's so amazing. And this is where we are. This is Shifting Your Mindset with Mutsa. It's nothing but positivity. It's time we move into change. And I'm sending you so much love and light. Catch you at 10 p.m. I'll be back right here again on the show. And this time it's an adult conversation. I'm talking about COVID, what it is, and the vaccine, because I've got a medical expert that knows every little thing about the vaccine. So I'll be answering all the questions people might have. We're back here. GMT time is 10 p.m. Unfortunately, African time is probably midnight, and then EST, I think it's about 5 p.m. So I will be back tonight talking about the COVID vaccine and COVID. I will have somebody on the show that's had the vaccine, that knows about the vaccine, that's a medical and scientific expert in the field, who will tell us, because I know there's a lot of anxiety happening. There's a lot of things, you know, people saying different things. So we will hear it from an expert himself who will teach us what we need to do. I'm sending you so much love and light, and thank you so much. It's been amazing. Mutsa.